Hi everybody, I'm Jessica and today I'm doing an updated tattoo tour. About 3 years ago or so, I did a tattoo tour and it's the first video on my channel. And since then I've gotten quite a few pieces. So one of them being extremely large and having an insane backstory. So the tattoos are something that I'm obviously really passionate about. For such a petite girl, I would say I'm quite covered and I have no regrets. Been like 3 years since I got my first tattoo, and I still love all of them and I love sharing the stories behind them. I believe very much so in sentimentality and individuality, and tattoos are such a great way to express this. And as an artist, I am very open about expressing the stories behind them, so I figured it was time for an updated tour. The first thing I wanted to go over was obviously the most clear piece, which is my chest piece. And I did talk about this one in my last video, as I did a lot of the earlier ones that I got. But this one is just something that I have to acknowledge. I mean, it's right by my face, can't really ignore it. I have to say, it's one of those pieces that when people see you, it's right there and it's really hard to ignore. So I'm very open about it. I never really hide it. I tend to wear shirts that show it at least halfway. So I do love it still. Even though for, you know, a small petite girl, it's not a common thing for like such a large chest piece. Actually, the funny story of this piece is I didn't really anticipate this piece being on me. The day of the appointment, I went to my shop, and it's in Bushwick where I was at the time, and she had finished it that morning, the artist, and she was like, all right, this is it, here it is. And I was like, wow, I definitely didn't expect this, but let's do it. And without any hesitation, I got it in that day, one sitting, full shading, and it was one of the biggest like adrenaline pumping experiences of my young adult life. So it is a spider, yes. I always make the joke, like, there's a spider in my dress. I did just sing that. It is a spider, and a lot of people joke with me like, Jess, you're such an edgelord. I mean, it is, I do have a spider on my chest, yeah, and I sometimes think it's kind of funny, but I do like the whole idea of this tattoo, the rose with the web and the spider, being that the rose is something that resembles beauty and it's something of nature, and the spider is something that is very associated with darkness and darkness. So the coexistence of beauty, light and dark, good and evil, I guess you could say this is a very deep interpretation of this tattoo, but all of my tattoos have somewhat of a deep meaning behind it. That's why I get them. So that is this piece, and it does go down past my sternum, and it's been a few years since I got it, and I think the shading has held up quite well. But yeah, that is my rose and spider. Additionally, so just gonna go over quickly some pieces I did go over in the first video. I'll link it below if you want to see more in-depth information about the older tattoos. I do have the eye, which is actually new since the last video. And the same artist, John Starr, that did my snake here and the olive branch here, did the eye. And the whole idea, the meaning behind the eye is that I believe that no action goes unseen. Even when you're alone, everything is seen, and it's kind of like the eye of God, like you're never truly alone. I do believe in God, and I have a lot of tattoos that tie back to my faith because I'm very open about it, and I've always been very open about it. And despite my long journey with all of my faith, I do really appreciate this tattoo being so on the nose about the fact that you're never truly alone and everything that you do will be seen. There is a tear coming out of the eye, and it is because God feels sorrow and emotion the same way that humans do, because we were made in His image. And I like the aspect of the emotion being captured in the all-seeing eye. So that's this piece, and it was done by John Starr at Gnostic Tattoo in Bushwick. That was my shop. I got every single tattoo except for one at Gnostic. So that is the eye tattoo. Another newer piece that I got is my torso piece. It wraps around my torso, covers up quite a big portion from my upper rib cage to lower hips, and it is only the outline, and there is a very good reason for this. I actually got the outline about a year and some months ago. The artist and tattooer is Maggie Cho Brophy. She at the time was at Gnostic Tattoo in Bushwick. Now she's at East River Tattoo in Greenpoint in New York. And at the time, it was pre-corona that I had the design sketched. She was designing it with me. We had all of these ongoing sessions, planning the piece, fitting the piece. And believe it or not, Corona just decided to interrupt my plans. But guess what? I was a psychopath and I still went to the appointment. Of course, they were incredibly safe. I was taken such good care of during the entire appointment. Maggie Cho was the most attentive with this piece. They were very aware of the safety measures and it was such a great experience. So I went to the appointment and Corona, I believe this was the last day before quarantine had been implemented in the city. And so it was right before quarantine started in New York. And I went to the appointment and I was the only person there. That was the day that it really hit me that Corona was going to be a thing that affected all of us. But I got this tattoo and the outline was all that we did. It took hours and hours. It was the most painful piece I ever got. I mean, we're talking rib cage, stomach, lower hip, upper rib cage, like back area. This is like the entire part of your body that is most vulnerable to pain with tattoos. So I had quite a fantastic time with pain with this tattoo. I would say that it was more painful than my sternum chest piece. And that it's only the outline, and that is the saddest thing is that since then I have been living out of the country in the EU and am nowhere close to being able to get the shading done on that piece. So I just have this outline chilling on like 90% of my torso, and it's just a funny story because that was literally the last normal thing that I did before the pandemic had officially affected our lives. And I kind of like that in a way because it is a piece of my story, and quite literally. And I think it's also really interesting because I wanted a chrysanthemum tattoo and I just thought they were really beautiful. They're traditional Japanese tattoo art. And funnily enough, I found out that chrysanthemums are my birth flower, which is November. And so it turned out also having the significance and personal sentiment to me. So I do really love this piece. She did such a great job conforming it to my shape, and the composition on my body is just perfect. And she's one of my favorite tattoo artists. She also did the linear face that's on my arm here. It was one of my first tattoos, and she just did a spectacular job with all the line work that I got from her. Another one of my newer pieces is the olive branch that I got from John Starr from Gnostic Tattoo. And this piece, I just had this like simple idea that I kind of stole from Mike. If you guys know, Mike is my DP and cameraman and editor and basically does everything for me on this channel. So and he actually was like, oh, if I ever get a tattoo again, I'm going to do an olive branch, because the olive branch is the official plant, would you say plant, of Cyprus. And so prior to living in Cyprus, I got this piece, and now I have been in Cyprus for the past year, living here. And I think it's quite funny that I got this piece before I lived here, because I knew that Cyprus was significant to my timeline. I mean, I actually went to Cyprus in 2019 and I came here for summer, and it just like opened up my entire world, my artistic horizons, and I met people that changed my life, and everything about being exposed to a different culture really changed me as a person, as an artist. And I also started studying Greek, and since then I became fluent. I've been studying for 2 years, and now I use the language every day. So the whole point of the olive branch is the significance of a soul culture, and for me that is Cypriot culture. And we have this kind of calling deep within us to be drawn to things that we're passionate about, and for me, Cyprus was a huge part of my story and of my identity, and now it's currently my home. So that is the olive branch tattoo, and I think John did a spectacular job with implementing the dots that I wanted incorporated. For some reason, I've always been obsessed with dots. And so I just love how it's a really artistic interpretation of the classic olive branch tattoo. Since I already did a video on my older tattoos, but for most of my new viewers, since my art videos, I wanted to kind of just touch on my other pieces. I do have about 10 pieces, so of course I'm not gonna sit here and deeply explain the significance of every single piece, because that would take 20 hours. Knowing me, I like to talk. So let's see if Jess can summarize for once in her life. So I have this peony here on my arm, and I almost passed out when I was getting this because I'm an idiot and I didn't eat well or drink well before my appointment. I always tell people that ask me about tattoos, please eat well, take care of yourself, sleep like a normal human being, and you will be fine. But I did none of those things, so yes, you're gonna pass out. And it is my only truly traditional piece with a lot thicker line work. And it was really fun though. We were listening to Black Marble and chilling in the shop, and they always had like incense and there were plants everywhere. And so you can see why I really enjoyed getting tattoos, because it was so tempting to go there all the time. The piece below that, if you could call it a piece, but I am doing it by pieces that I got in one sitting. And this piece is Faith, Hope, and Joy in Chinese. And it is my middle name is Faith, my sister Beth's middle name is Hope, and my older sister's middle name is Joy. We're just one of those sister bunches that have artsy middle names. So I had the absolute intense desire to get this tattoo because family. On to the next one. So this is James, and it's such a meme, such a joke. Everyone's always like, "Is James your boyfriend?" You know, but I love it. It's my brother's name. That day, he got surgery on his leg, and I just really missed him. It was early on. It was right after I left home, and I was missing my family, as you can see, and so I got this tattoo. And the snake is one of the more controversial tattoos, because for someone that believes in God and the Bible, the serpent happens to be something that tends to resemble sin, evil, darkness, temptation, all these things. But as I said before, tattoos for me are more about the heart's intentions and what it means to you. And it's a bit more abstract. I mean, it is a snake at the end of the day, so it's up to interpretation. In my case, the tattoo means I may appear small, but it doesn't mean that I'm not fierce. One of my favorite Bible verses is, I could tell you, 1 Timothy. It's my phone. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. 2 Timothy 1:7. And that is why it's so ironic that people think it's a very dark tattoo, because for me, the significance of it was quite the opposite. And so that is my little snack. Next is the linear face tattoo, and at the time I was studying portraits constantly. I was spending 8 hours drawing one portrait at a time, doing intensive shading, learning how to improve my artwork, and portraits were just so near and dear to my heart that I got a linear version of one. So the portraits are very important to me to express our identity and who we are, and that's why I got the portrait here. And the last but not least, the first tattoo that I got is Philippians 4:13, which is, let's get the Bible this time, because, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. King James Version. And the significance of this particular verse, it was on my 18th birthday. I got the tattoo with my mom. She also got a different tattoo. And we were in the basement of a random shop in Greenwich in New York. And it was my 18th birthday. The importance of Philippians 4:13 to me is my mom had me in her stomach. She was pregnant with me, and the verse that helped her get through her pregnancy and that she dedicated to me was Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that is the verse that was dedicated to me when I was born. And ever since I was able to say words, that was the verse that I just had in my heart and gets me through every single day. So those are all of my tattoos. I know that this is the second time that I've talked about them, and it's a very important thing to me. I always tell people to consider the meaning from the person that got it. I know that a lot of tattoos need to be deciphered and decoded by the person that got them, because we all have our own interpretation of artwork and body art, personal style, and the sentiment behind the arts and how it speaks to us. For me, my testimony is all over my body, and I have started so many interesting conversations with strangers about my tattoos, and that's why I'm here talking with you about them. So I thank you guys for sitting and talking with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I hope you consider subscribing for future content. I do general lifestyle, fashion, art, all of that, and I post weekly, pretty regular-ish weekly. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.